But yeah. Oh man. I got so much to talk about. Just gotta wait for this to load up. Go live. Boom. Looks like we're set. What's up, chat? Boom. I don't know how long it will take for people to join up, but yeah, that's what I've been doing since like. So I've been like about a year straight. I've been. I don't know how long it will take for people to. Oh, whoops, okay. So this is what I've been doing, Grandpa. About a year straight, I've just been making content. Like, I'll just stream. Maybe I'll play a game, and then like I'll edit the game into a video, and then like.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
But this is live and unedited.
Yeah, this is live, unedited right now. But like, I'll take the stream and then edit it down, and it's on. But yeah. So, I guess. Okay, so basically, guys. Oh, whoops. I'll wait for people to join up. But anyways, basically, I have all these sticky notes right here.
Yeah.
And these are all questions that I want to ask my grandpa. So basically, let's start off with the first one.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Introduce me, huh?
Slap.
Okay.
Yeah, how would you introduce yourself?
I'm Papa.
Yep.
And I used to be, when I was young, when I was your age, I was a real nerd.
Yeah.
I was really into journalism and all kinds of academic stuff. Didn't like physical stuff very much. Later in college, I got into some sports. I got got introduced to some bad things that I did, and I became a hippie. Eventually, I was drafted. I became a soldier, and then after that, I did some other things. I had several jobs. Got my pilot's license. Lost my medical, so I couldn't fly anymore. Got married. Got divorced, got married again.
Life.
Did some traveling while I was in the service, and after I got out also, I did some hitchhiking. I hitchhiked all across Europe and North America. And then after I got married, I started a family. Ended up getting another divorce and getting married again to your grandma. We ended up with being the father of 10 kids, a grandfather of 50, great-grandfather of 2 with 1 on the way right now. Currently live in a ghost town up in the mountains and with about couple of dozen other crazy people. That's kind of who I am.
All right. All right, so basically, I have a surprise. So basically, you know how you gave us Danish coins? Look, I made a necklace out of a Danish coin you gave me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this coin has like a hole in it, and it's called a Danish coin. My grandpa gave it to me like about a year ago, I guess.
Yeah, well, Denmark doesn't use those coins anymore. They're now used the euro.
What would you say is the story behind that coin, or like how did you get the coin?
Okay, well, after I got out of the army, I worked for my dad for about a year, and then I decided to go hitchhike through Europe, and first country I visited was Denmark, and collected a bunch of coins in my pocket. I stayed in Denmark for about a week. And then started hitchhiking south, went through Germany, went through France, went back up north to Belgium and Holland and some other countries. Had a good time. I also had some bad times. Ended up getting ripped off. Had a little bit of the money that I'd collected in various countries, because at that time there was no Eurozone. Every country in Europe had its own currency, and you couldn't use Danish coins in Germany. You couldn't use German coins in France. They just wouldn't take them in any more than we would in the U.S. If you bring Mexican pesos into the U.S., you can't buy anything with them. They're not legal currency here. So I ended up with a pocket full of all these coins that I couldn't spend.
Yeah.
So I just kept them because I kind of like collecting coins.
They do look really cool.
That was a really cool one because it has a hole in it.
And
that is a kroner.
Yeah,
which means a crown. In more than one of them are called kroner. That's the plural. So that is, I don't know how many kroner that is. Does it say on it?
It's 2 kroner.
2 kroner, okay.
Yeah, 2 kroner.
And I'm trying to remember what it was worth at the time. It wasn't that much.
I think it's worth like about a quarter. Yeah, a quarter. Or like a little above it. Yeah. So that's cool. Okay, so I don't know if you have an earliest memory, but like what would you say is your earliest memory?
I do have an earliest memory.
Okay.
I was a little baby.
Yeah.
My mom was carrying me.
Yeah.
Like this, just carrying me. And I was looking over her shoulder at a calendar. And I didn't know it was a calendar. It was just this thing on the wall and it had a picture of a donkey on it. That's my earliest memory.
How old do you think you were?
I probably was less than a year old.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even think I have a memory less than a year old. But she... Wow.
Well, I asked my mom about it when I was in my 60s, and she was in her 80s. And she remembered the picture and the calendar and was amazed that I remembered it. And she said I was less than a year old at the time.
That's crazy. Well, anyways, okay.
It didn't mean anything to me. I just have this memory.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't actually expect. I thought you were gonna say something like, I don't know, too many like memories gets mixed up.
No, that's my earliest one.
Wow, less than a year old. I feel like I thought you were gonna like.
I might have been a year old. I'm not sure.
But anyway, so life rules. Do you have any life rules?
Life
you live
rules
by?
That I live by. Well, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I try to obey the principles of the gospel. Main one being to try to relate to people the way Jesus would. Okay. With love, understanding, and integrity.
That's a good answer. Okay. Now, biggest regret. Do you have a biggest regret?
Oh, I have a big regret. When I was young, I used drugs. That is absolutely my biggest regret.
How did you say it messed you up?
If I could undo any one thing in my life, that's what it would be.
How do you feel like that changed you as a person, doing that?
Oh, well, it changed me in many ways, none of them good. Probably the worst way is that's what caused me to lose my medical, my qualification to fly.
Well, yeah, that definitely
sucks. I had a seizure, an epileptic seizure. And that's what caused it. I've been told by my neurologist.
Doing a podcast right now, bro.
Howdy. Oh, you got a kitty.
So, show the cow on stream, bro.
Hello. Yeah. Oh, you're a nice kitty.
But
yeah, he's pretty nice, except for whenever he's not.
Well,
yes. That's Winston right there.
He doesn't know me, but he's gonna learn that I know cats. I like cats.
Should I give him a treat?
He's pretty nice.
Sure.
Let's give him a treat. Actually, there's one behind you, Grandpa. You see there's a bag. It says treats on it.
Treats?
Yeah, we got Temptations. Let's give the cat a treat right now.
Can I give it to him so he knows that I'm a good person?
Yeah, go for it.
Here.
Oh.
Eat the treat, Winston.
Doesn't want it?
He doesn't want it. Smells too much like me, and I don't smell good.
Winston, will you take the treat from me? Winston, I think I need to put it in his face. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now he smells it.
Now he smells it.
Winston, you're kind of taking a while to eat the freaking treat, bud. There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay. Well, back to the podcast.
Okay.
Where were we?
Well, right there.
Oh yeah, hold on. We were on biggest regret, and that is doing drugs at a young age.
Drugs.
Made us
And I
see
have
putting
another regret that isn't as big, but it's really sharp.
really sharp.
Really sharp regret. When I was a senior in high school.
That's me right now.
Yeah,
so.
I know. That's why I'm
All
sharing
right.
this with you. When I was a senior in high school, I wrote for my high school newspaper, and there was a girl on the newspaper staff named Carol. Carol had cerebral palsy. She had to have braces on her legs to walk. She walked kind of bent over. Her hands didn't work quite right. She couldn't talk. She drooled a lot because she couldn't help it. But she was very, very smart, and she could type. And because she could type, she could write. And she could do signs, but she couldn't talk because she just didn't have control of her mouth. And because I knew a little bit of sign or manual alphabet from a play I'd been in, she and I would sit there and chat in class with manual alphabet. And mostly what I said was, Carol, slow down. Because she was fast and I wasn't. But she invited me to go to the senior prom. And I just couldn't picture going to the senior prom with a girl who had braces on her legs and couldn't walk hardly and drooled and whatever. And so I didn't go with her. And I didn't actually go with anybody. I just told her, I said, I'm not going to the prom, so I'm sorry. And I didn't go.
I still don't know if I'm going to go to my high school prom.
But I think, just how cool would that have been to be the only guy in the school that had enough guts to take a girl to the prom that didn't look like everybody else. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
It really would have been.
That would have.
But I wasn't cool. That's my sharp regret.
So you think I should go to high school
hero.
prom?
I could have been a hero, and I wasn't.
I'm still deciding, should I go?
Well, it's your decision.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Grandpa, what is your favorite Marvel character?
My favorite Marvel
If you have one.
character?
Yeah.
I don't have one. It's been a long time since I've seen a Marvel
Or
cartoon.
favorite normal character?
Favorite what?
Just like any character, he said.
Any character.
Yeah.
Probably Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride.
I don't know what that is. I don't.
Oh, he's the guy who said, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
Wait. Yeah. So wait, how many languages do you know again?
9.
9. Like that's insane.
Well, I learned them one at a time, just like everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Chat ask him if he likes Spider-Man. Do you like Spider-Man?
Not particularly.
Okay. Anyways, let's get on to the serious questions now. Okay. Lowest point in your life, is that the same as your biggest regret, you'd say?
Oh, lowest point in my life
Yeah, lowest point in your life.
probably occurred when I was in the Army. I was what do you call it? a missile man. My job was to shoot down Russian bombers with nuclear warhead missiles
Yeah.
and thus start World War III. That was my job. And I practiced doing that daily, probably a couple of dozen times a day. I bet I ended the world maybe 3,000 times in a year and a half that I did that, that's bad enough, but those were all like war games. But 3 times it was real. And I actually personally pushed the button to fire a missile that had a thermonuclear warhead at real Russians, and then was allowed to cancel the launch with seconds to spare. 3 times. And that's probably the lowest point in my life. Imagine if you were the monster who tried to end the world. 3 times.
Yeah, wouldn't
For
feel too
real.
good about it.
For real. Not in a game. No, we're not talking Ender's Game here.
Yeah.
We're talking about actually really doing it. I could see them. I could look out the window and see the missile.
Yikes. That is crazy.
I was looking at a radar scope and I could see a dozen Russian bombers. They called that the Cold War. That's probably the worst name for a war in history because there was nothing cold about it. Russians threatened us with nuclear bombs on a weekly basis, and we threatened them with nuclear bombs on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Not verbally threatened like they do today. We're talking about, here's a bomber circling around your position, carrying nukes, getting ready to drop them on
crazy.
you. And you have a missile that's 40 feet tall, 2-stage missile, carrying a hydrogen bomb in the warhead that can blow up everything within 50 miles. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we were less than 50 miles from the planes we were shooting at.
Oh.
And that was when I started doing drugs. And I wasn't alone. Because it's not possible to be that kind of a monster and not either be
Lose your
crazy
sanity?
or drug addict or alcoholic. Everybody that was doing that job ended up either crazy, drug addict, or alcoholic.
That's crazy.
No exceptions. Or some combination. So
Well, that makes
that was a
sense.
very low point in my life. That was in 1970.
Crazy.
Yeah, and during the middle of the Vietnam War, too. Well, both of those were going on simultaneously. And in the middle of all of that, as if that isn't bad enough, my wife left me.
Yikes.
I don't blame her. I was
you're
probably
in a
not the
terrible mental
funnest
state.
guy to be around. But yeah,
Yeah.
she left me and ran off with the sailor.
Yikes.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a low point in my life.
But do you feel like you took like a good out of that? Any good?
Any good?
At least from like a mental
Well,
standpoint?
I did manage to not actually shoot those 3 missiles.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, the world still exists.
Yippee.
Yippee. I will say one other thing about that. A lot of people right now are really worried about the state that the world is in, and if you're one of them, I want you to know you have reason to worry.
Yeah.
But I want to reassure you and the people that are watching.
Yeah.
It's been worse than this in the past, and we survived because we're human beings, and human beings are survivors.
We're human beings, and human beings are survivors. That's a good outlook right there.
But it's not up to me anymore. Now it's
Yeah.
up to your generation.
I don't know if my generation's built for it, but hopefully.
Hey, mine wasn't built for what we had to go through either, but we did it.
Yeah.
If we could, you could. You come from a long, long line of people who survived. They survived the Cold War, they survived the Second World War, they survived plagues, they survived diseases, they survived famines, they survived all kinds of things. And that's why you exist. And every one of you people out there, you exist because human beings are
All of
good,
you exist.
because human beings are good at surviving.
Yeah.
You can do it. So when you feel bad, remember that. Your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your umpty-ump gazillion grandparents in the past, they were all survivors. And you can too.
All right. All right, on to the next question. So that was the lowest point in your life. What would you say is the highest point in your life?
Oh, there have been so many. No, really.
Give like the most recent highest point in your
The
life.
most recent high point in my life.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I was really glad that your grandma and I survived that car wreck we were in.
Yeah, that's true.
That was cool.
Tell Chad about how you have like metal on your chin.
Oh,
Whatever.
no, that's the result of that car wreck.
Yeah.
My shin bone was so badly crumpled and bashed up and everything that they couldn't put it back together.
Yeah.
So they just took the middle of it out and rebuilt it with titanium.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I have this metal shin.
On the walk here, he was saying, "Call me Borg."
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah. Okay. Wait, so what was the highest point in your life, you say?
No, that was one of them.
Okay.
They're getting married to your grandma
Getting
was
married.
a really high point.
Yeah.
Your birth was a really high point.
Let's go.
No, seriously. Probably the most recent high point in my life was just last month. I experienced the birth of my 50th grandson.
50th.
50th grandchild, yep.
Wow. Well, anyways, all right. On to the next.
I bet you weren't expecting that.
What is the meaning of life?
Oh.
It's a deep one.
We are here, it's deep, and I can actually answer that because I have a firm belief that we are here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And our purpose in this life is to learn who we are.
Learn who we are.
Yeah. One of the things I told you about that book that I wrote,
Yeah.
one of the essays in it is called Life is a Rodeo. Okay? It's not a test, because a test is not a good test if we don't all get the same test.
Yeah.
But we don't all get the same life. A test is a rotten test if we haven't learned first what we are being tested on. But none of us has learned what we're going to learn in this life before we get tested on it. A test is a really bad test if it isn't fair, if some people get a head start.
Yeah.
But life is not fair. I don't doubt if there's anybody on this planet who hasn't had a mother, father, grandparent, or teacher tell them life is not fair. But there is a kind of test that's not fair in any of those ways, and yet is still a good test, and that's a rodeo. When a rodeo cowboy gets on that bronco in the chute, and the chute opens, he's never seen that horse before. He doesn't know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Every cowboy gets a different horse, and some of the horses are better than others. But what he's judged on is how he rides. Some of the horses buck better than others, but he's not judged on how well the horse bucks. He's judged on how well he rides the horse, or she. And what the cowboy's job is to ride that horse and show as much style as he can show and make points with the judge. And that's what our job is in this life. We're all going to have different problems thrown at us, and they're not going to be expected, and we don't know what they are or when they're going to come. And some of them are going to buck us off. But we all get a chance to make some points with the judge.
That's a good answer. I like that. It's all about how you ride your life, huh?
Show some style.
All right. On to the next question. Let's go. Do we have free will?
You know, I'm going to say I think I do. I'm not sure about you.
Okay.
But I understand. Some people say that that's just an illusion. We have an illusion of free will, and I haven't made up my mind on that one yet.
Still thinking about it?
I'm still thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that there's these triplets that were separated at birth, didn't even know that they were triplets. Each one thought they were an only child. And they met when they were in college and discovered that they were actually triplets. And they all liked the same kind of cars. They all dressed the same. They had the same major in college. And their girlfriends even all looked the same.
That is a little strange.
So did they have free will? There's 3 of them. Identical triplets. So you tell me.
I tell you, do I think we have free will?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have free will to an extent. I think there's so we have certain, we're inclined to be pushed towards things, make different decisions, but we're not we have influence on the decision we make, but maybe not 100%. Maybe a lot of it is subconscious with how we act in the world, but we definitely I think we definitely have a conscience of free will, just choices, right?
Well, I believe that people can choose based on what they know is right or what they believe is right. But I'm going to say I haven't made up my mind completely on that yet.
All right. On to the next question.
Okay.
Do we have a soul?
Absolutely no question about
Absolutely
it.
no
That
question?
isn't even a question.
I agree, actually. I think we have a soul. All right.
I think we are a soul.
We are a soul. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're a soul in a body.
That has a body.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. On to the next question. What was life like at 18? I mean, you told me a little bit. But
what was life like at 18?
Yeah.
Well, at 18, I had my first girlfriend, so that was pretty cool. I loved that. I had driver's license and a car.
I'm still working on that.
I had a scholarship to go to the college that I wanted to go to, the one that I picked, the number one choice. That was cool. There were some things that weren't cool. There was a draft. If you were unlucky, you got called on and you had to go be a soldier and fight in a war, whether you wanted to or not.
Crazy times. That's crazy times.
There were bad things happening. There was racism everywhere. Not like we have today, but legal racism. For example, if somebody didn't like the color of your skin, they didn't have to hire you.
Insane.
They didn't have to rent an apartment to you if they didn't like the color of your skin or what race you were. They didn't have to, if they were a doctor, they didn't have to treat you. If they were a hospital, they didn't have to admit you. There was legal racism in every state in the United States.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is insane.
So yeah, there were bad things. My girlfriend at that time was Latina, and we had to drive 20 miles from the town where we lived to go eat to a restaurant to eat because we were a biracial couple. And we didn't dare risk being known as a couple where we lived
Oh my
because
gosh.
there were gangs that would if they had caught us, they probably would have killed her, and what they would do to me would be worse than killing.
Insane.
And I'm not going to go into details, but you don't want to know.
Well, I can imagine.
You think
like,
there's nothing worse than death? You didn't grow up in East Los Angeles.
Yeah, it sounds terrible. All right. On to the next question. Is there anything that you hate?
Oh, anything?
Anything that you hate?
Well, I hate racism. I
That's
hate
good.
prejudice of all kinds.
Yeah.
But I have to say that the hate that I feel is not a strong, sharp kind of hate like you would go out and hit somebody or something. It's more
Like a
what I
strong
would
play.
just say I detest.
Detest.
And I will not put up with it.
All right. I like that
If
answer.
that counts.
Yeah.
So you could even say I hate.
Yeah. I like that answer. I thought you would actually say something like that. Like, I don't actually really hate, but like, this is something that I'm against, you know?
Yes.
I think that's a good viewpoint to have. Because,
It is. It is.
Because, like, I don't think hate is good, but like, being against something is good. If it's something you're against,
If there's
it's bad,
something that's
right?
bad,
Yeah.
you shouldn't just let it by, because that's how
Yeah.
evil triumphs. But I've been in enough of a bad person myself that I know that people can change, and even before they change, they may hate what they're doing and not be able to stop it.
Yeah.
I hated what I did in the army, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you got 20 more?
Okay. Here's like the last sticky note. Biggest life advice. We can go on and you can tell stories after this.
I don't know if I even want to, but I will give you my biggest life
Okay.
advice. It's actually what I want to have on my tombstone when I die. Okay?
What is it?
I want it to say, may your accomplishments be greater than mine. Your regrets lesser than mine, and may you have every bit as much fun.
Okay.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
Say it again.
May your accomplishments be greater than
Accomplishments be
mine, your
greater than
regrets fewer, and may you have every bit as much fun.
Wow. That's a good message. I like that. All right. Well,
So that's my advice.
solid.
So
But
what do
anyways.
you think about that? I want to know what you think about these things.
I think that's well, that life advice, I like that. I do agree we have a soul. Highest point of my life, low key right now.
Ooh, that's awesome.
That's your water.
Yeah.
Life roles. I feel like my life role is just always put more good than bad out into the world and just live
Ooh,
morally good.
I like that.
That's like my biggest thing. Like I won't chase religion if it's like taking me, I don't know. But I feel like that most important thing is putting more good into the world than bad and trying to just like live morally good moving forward in your life.
Wow, that reminds me
Yeah.
of something I read.
Mm-hmm.
A wise man once said this: "Do it.
Do it.
Do it right.
Do it right.
Do it right now.
Okay. Earliest memory? I don't know why, but I don't even like really have one. I feel like my memories are really scattered from a young age, which is why it really surprised me that you somehow have a memory at like but lesser than one age. I mean,
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. Right now, your brain is not fully developed.
So will I be able to access earlier memories maybe later on?
Maybe it may happen. Because male brains, generally, the two halves of the brain don't completely fuse until you're like 23 or 24 years old, maybe.
That's wild.
Yeah. So you're maturing in the sense that you're learning things and you're putting them together, but you still don't have all of the brain function that you're going to have in a few years.
That's really interesting.
Then you're going to add more and more life experiences, which will key into memories you don't even have consciously and bring them up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I feel like I have subconscious memories just
You
sitting
do.
in the back of
You
my head
absolutely
that
do.
I can't bring out yet.
Yeah.
Which is really weird to
That's
think
because
about.
your connections aren't all made yet. So, cut yourself some slack, man. Give yourself a little time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like going so hard at like trying to make this vision. I have this vision and I really want to just live off of creating stuff. So like
Excellent.
I get so caught up in the vision, like sometimes it's hard to like live in the present, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because you're living in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like so hyper prophesizing, like visualizing something. It's just, it gets.
But if I can offer you some advice about
Yeah.
that, things may happen that change your wishes or your desires or your dream. Don't be averse to that. Don't just put it down just because it doesn't match what you already decided.
All right.
Like, I never thought that I wanted to be a pilot until I took a flying lesson because a friend told me, hey, this is cool, do it. And I did, and I fell in love with it, and I changed from wanting to be a teacher to wanting to be a pilot.
Speaking of flight, have you ever gone skydiving? Surely
No.
You haven't?
I have not. I can't see any good reason for jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
I think I might go skydiving one day. That'd be
Although
fun.
I have to tell you the truth.
Uh-huh.
I did one time jump out of an airplane without a parachute.
Really?
Yeah, but it was parked on the ramp.
Oh.
And it was a little Cessna, and so I only jumped about 3 feet.
You caught me off the guard there.
Gotcha!
I thought you were gonna tell me some story how like you're all like at the top of the sky, just somehow like skydiving and then trying to fall into some water to live. That'd be crazy if you like somehow dived in the water and survived.
No, I jumped out of a real airplane with no parachute.
Only a couple feet though. Oh.
Yeah, a couple feet, and it was parked.
Wow. What else do we got here? Wait, what does your grandpa think about the saying, with great power comes great responsibility?
What does my grandpa say?
Yeah, okay, so that's what chat was saying. That's what chat is asking. What do you think about the saying, with great power comes great responsibility?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm certain that each of us will have to answer for what we do. If to nobody else, we'll have to answer to ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I think I'm my worst critic.
Me too. I feel like I'm my worst critic. So like, no hate that anybody puts out like really gets to me as much as I'm gonna be like criticizing myself. Or like any criticism out there, it's like, okay, I've already criticized myself the same amount
Or more.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't even let it get to me. Kind of makes you have tough skin, I guess.
But don't forget to cut yourself some slack.
You gotta love and hate yourself. Maybe.
You gotta love yourself.
Yeah, you gotta love yourself.
Even if you did something really, really bad that you can't undo and it really hurt somebody else and whatever, the worst thing you can think of. And even if you really meant to hurt them at the time, I mean, that's bad, right?
Yeah.
But you still got to realize that you were acting on imperfect information all the time, because all of us are acting on imperfect information.
Because everybody's subjective to their own perspectives.
Oh, it's even worse than that. Objectively, you are living in the past right now. You
Everybody's a
may not know
reflection
it,
of the past
you
and
are.
present.
Think about this. When you see something, okay, let's say you go out at night and you look at a star. Well, okay, that star is, say, 1,000 light years away. Okay, that means that what you're seeing is what was in existence 1,000 years ago.
That's true.
Not what's there right now. That star might not even exist anymore. It might have exploded 500 years ago, and the light hasn't reached us yet. But even when you look at something very close by, that light hasn't reached your eyes yet.
Yeah.
There's a tiny, tiny fraction of an instant. Okay? So that's the past, but it's not the very distant past. But when that light hits your eyes send a signal along your optic nerve to your brain. That doesn't go at the speed of light. That goes much, much slower.
I wonder how fast.
When I was in that accident almost 4 years ago.
And if you're sleep deprived, that's even worse.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
I saw the airbag coming at me, and then I saw it pull back after it hit me, and then I felt it.
That's crazy.
Because the nerve impulses took longer to go from my chest to my brain than from my eye to my brain.
That's wild.
So
that is such a weird feeling.
It is very weird. Let me tell you, it was extremely weird at the time even. But we are living in the past. Right now, if you have enough money, you can buy a street legal car that is so fast that if you're driving it at night and you see something in the road, at the instant that you see it, you've already passed it.
That's crazy.
Because your car is going faster than the nerve impulses from the light in your eyes to your brain.
I wonder if, like, the more you age, like, let's say if my brain gets fully developed, if I'll, like, process information at different speeds, like.
Well, as you get older, you will process information slower, I promise you.
Well, okay. Well,
that's one of the few advantages of youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that you have a much faster reaction time than I do.
Yeah, but that's crazy to think about, like, the way you put that, like.
So you're living in the past. All your senses are slow compared to the physical reality around you.
And it's only
and your brain has to process all of those senses before you even know what they are.
Wow.
So you're living in the past. Well, everything you see, everything you hear, everything you touch actually already happened.
Because your senses aren't real time. Your senses are
slow.
Delayed.
Yeah.
That's
delayed.
so interesting to think about. I've never really thought about that. Your senses are delayed. They're not real time.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a concept, isn't it?
Yeah, and then also having an experience where your sight was faster than your touch sense.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Well, because the airbag hit me in the chest, okay? But the sight hit my eye, and the eye is connected to the brain by a nerve that's about that long. And the part of my chest that felt it, the airbag hit, that is connected to the brain by probably a yard of nerve fibers that has to go from one cell to the next, and that all takes time. And so I saw that go, and then I felt it.
Does your grandfather know Russian words, and does he think of Russia?
I studied Russian when I was in high school and in college, and so da. But the problem with that is that was all 50 years ago, or more. So I've forgotten almost all my Russian.
What was the 9 languages you say you know again?
Okay, my native language is English. My parents and grandparents spoke Yiddish to each other. They didn't speak it to me, but they spoke it to each other. And so I kind of grew up hearing it, and I learned that. I can't speak it, but I can understand some of it. Okay. I studied French and Russian when I was in high school. When I was in college, I studied Middle English, which is like pre-Shakespearean. We're talking about Geoffrey Chaucer, stuff from like the 1300s, which is really cool. And then after college, I ended up in the military, and I was stationed in Japan, and I learned Japanese just from living in that country. And then I later decided I wanted to learn Hebrew to be able to read the Bible in the original language. So I took some courses and studied Hebrew.
Wow.
And
so wait, did you read through the entire Bible?
No, but I did read all the way through the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, and it took me a year. And I wore out 3 Hebrew English dictionaries to the point where they were literally falling in pieces on the floor.
Wow.
Hebrew's a hard language. It's really hard.
Speaking of religion, we both agree that we have a soul.
Yeah.
And you were saying, okay, so like our senses are delayed, of course. That's just a fact.
Right.
Okay, but that's like in our body experience. So out of body experience, being a soul after death, or just being a soul, would you, I guess, experience real time?
Oh. When I was in my 40s, I worked for a while as a nurse aide in a hospital, and there was a patient there who was supposed to be in the coronary unit. He'd had a massive, massive heart attack, and he was supposed to be in the coronary unit, but they were full, and so he was in our unit with telemetry on him. So
what's telemetry?
Well, he had all these things stuck to him and everything to read.
I think I've had those on like my head before.
Well, he didn't have anything on his head, but he had them on his chest and everything, and it went by radio into the coronary unit, so the doctors and nurses in the coronary unit could monitor him, even remotely. So it was like remote monitoring of him, constantly. And he was not, his heart attack was so bad that he was not allowed to turn over in bed by himself. He was supposed to call me to come in and help him turn over. Well, as I finished my shift, and as I was leaving, I was walking past his room, and I heard a noise in his room, and I ran in to see what was going on, and he was coming out of the bathroom. He wasn't even supposed to ever even sit up in bed, and he was walking out of the bathroom.
So would you say that's a miracle?
So no, it's not a miracle, because he died. He had a heart attack. I caught him, and he died in my arms.
Oh.
And I laid him down on the floor. Well, as he was dying, he knocked his water pitcher over and on the floor. So I'm kneeling in this puddle, and I grabbed the phone. I called for a cardiac unit, and started giving him CPR, which I had been trained in because I was a nurse aide.
This is insane.
And I started giving him CPR, and the emergency unit came running in, and they got him up onto the bed, and they started giving him CPR and took him back into coronary, and he lived. And that was like my last day. I had 2 days off. I came back after 2 days, and he was still in the coronary unit, but I went in to visit him, to see him. And he told me, he said, "Oh, you're the guy that gave me CPR." And I said, "How do you know I gave you CPR? You were dead." and he said, "Well, I was up in the corner of the room by the ceiling and looking down at my body, and I saw you do that."
That's crazy.
And I said, yeah, right. And in my head, I'm going, yeah, I don't believe this a bit, right? And then he said, yeah, he said, "You had a book in your back pocket." And he told me the name of the book.
What? You know, that's so crazy because I've actually had one out-of-body experience.
How did he know? I was always facing him.
Yeah.
I never turned my back on him. Through this whole thing. And yes, I had a book in my back pocket, but it was a book that I had been reading like at my lunch times, and he'd never seen it. And I stuck it in my back pocket because I was on my way home.
That's crazy.
And he told me the name of the book.
That's just gotta like make you believe.
So, and he said, "Well, I was out of my body, and I was floating up by the ceiling and looking down, and I saw the whole thing." So yeah, I'm sure that we have a soul. It's like I didn't see it. I didn't see him up there or anything.
Yeah.
But explain to me how that happened.
That's crazy because the way you described that, I've actually had that same experience. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So whenever I was like a kid, like this is why I believe we have a soul, because I had an out-of-body experience just like that, which is crazy. Which is crazy because I'm a really logical guy, so I'm not even like religious. But whenever I was a kid, I was sick, and like I slept, and then whenever I slept, I was like floating above myself in the corner of the room the same way you described, and I could see myself.
Whoa.
So if I had the experience of that you just described that guy had,
then he could have, right?
Then it's like, that's why I believe we have a soul, because I literally experienced that.
Because you know that you do.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like crazy.
That's why I say we are a soul and we have a body. Because you're still you even when you're not in your body, right? And a lot of people will think,
a lot of people will think that that's just like some sort of dream, but why does it line up with like so many near-death situations?
And how did he know about this book in my back pocket if it was just a dream?
Exactly. Like, that's insane. That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah. So to me, it's not a question of belief.
Yeah.
It's just, I know, I went through this experience. When it happens to you, you don't have, it's not belief anymore. It's not an idea. It's just a fact.
Yeah, because I pretty much was in the mindset of like not believing. I mean, that was just whenever I was a kid. And it's like, that's literally seeing is believing in that moment. I mean, I've experienced it. And now some people might just say that it's a dream, but no, it's crazy.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
It's insane though. Cause like logically, or like when you try to think really logically, it's like, you can't prove any of that. Yeah. But it's because we're limited to our senses, right?
Right.
We're limited to our senses in the body.
Except we aren't always.
Oh, yeah.
As you know.
Yeah, but like when you're talking to other people, it's just like you're only able to talk to other people being limited, right?
Oh. You know, speech is such a terrible way to communicate.
Yeah,
think about it. Do you ever think about what we actually do when we talk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? What we actually do is first we get an idea, and we try to pick from a few thousand words to express that idea.
And then most people will be like, "Oh,
our muscles of our mouth and our tongue and our chest and our neck to make the air vibrate in certain particular ways, and then the other person converts those air vibrations into sound, and then their brain hears the sound, and they try to translate those sounds into words, and then they try to figure out what you really meant from those words.
Yeah.
And we do this all just like that.
Yeah, and then people make assumptions just off of like what you said, even though like that's not entirely what you meant.
Oh, and
it's
that's
so hard.
the other part of it.
Yeah.
Is while we're doing all of this, we're imagining to ourselves what the other person is going to say back to us.
Yep.
And then we correct our ideas when we finally hear what they said.
Which is insane.
So, yeah, it's amazing that we can communicate anything at all.
Yeah. Communication is so limited, though.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, speech is a terrible way to try to communicate. It would be so much better if we could just think our thoughts at each other.
Yeah.
That's the basis of that story I was telling you about.
Yeah. Telepathy.
Yeah.
Would be,
Yeah.
telepathy would be really crazy because everybody's filtering. Like pretty much everybody's usually filtering to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
So you never get the full thought. And
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
you never.
Words are lies.
Yeah.
Every word is a lie.
Because everybody has wants and they'll manipulate their words to get what they want.
There's a science called general semantics, which I studied about in college. And they say one of the first principles of general semantics is the map is not the territory. The word is not the thing. So any time that we say something, we're taking one little aspect of a huge thing and saying that that's what it is. But it's not. It's that and etc.
Yeah, it's so complicated.
There's actually a study called semantics that you could study in school.
What does that
about
even mean? Semantics?
Semantics?
Yeah.
It means the study of meaning.
The study of meaning.
How do things mean things? What exactly?
And isn't like most communication not even like talking? It's just literally like your hands or like your eyes or like your body. Doesn't
Oh, yeah.
or isn't that usually always the more truthful thing than the words?
Okay. For any of our friends that speak more than one language,
Yeah.
when you learn a foreign language, one of the hardest things to do is talk on the telephone in a foreign language.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is that all you've got is the words. On the telephone. That's all you've got is the words. You don't see the facial expressions. You don't see what they're doing with their arms and hands and legs. You don't see what's all around them. Nowadays, when you got stuff like this,
Yeah.
that's much cooler.
Yeah.
It's much better because you can see things like that. But just to talk to somebody where all you've got is the voice, that is so hard because you're missing all the rest of the communication.
So yeah, wouldn't you say like eye and body is more communication than speaking?
I'd say it's at least as much.
At least as much?
Yeah.
It's like half and half.
I don't know. I haven't studied it, so I can't say
Yeah,
how
you can't
much.
say it, but, like,
but
it's definitely a huge part.
certainly more
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
And also, when you talk, like we're talking right now,
Like a
to
tone
each
of
other,
voice.
face to face, you're hearing all of the different inflections in my voice.
Well, that's true.
But when you talk into a cell phone, it cuts off the high frequencies, it cuts off the low frequencies.
So it's even less.
Yeah. And plus it's digital, so in between every digit there's stuff being lost.
Yeah.
So you're maybe only hearing a couple, maybe 2/3 of what is actually being said. So it's amazing that we can communicate it all.
Yeah. That is true. It's crazy.
That's why we have to try to figure out what the other person's going to say before they say it. Otherwise, the conversation would take hours
Yeah, you
or
gotta,
days even.
Gotta have like pre-built answers to the question.
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
that's right.
It's crazy.
Wow, I'm amazed at how much of what I'm saying you even understand. This is stuff that it's taken me over 70 years to figure out.
Well, you don't have a Papa Don, do you?
No, my grandpa spoke Yiddish, and I didn't understand most of what he said. He didn't speak English.
Well, I mean,
I don't
I
recall
only
ever
know
hearing
one
him
language
speak
and no hablo español, so
No?
I don't know what
English. Yeah,
main
you
language.
just did.
But yeah, I try to keep my mind really open because there's so much I don't know. So that's why I wanted to.
Well, you wanted
longer.
advice? I'll give you another piece of advice.
Okay.
Learn another language.
Learn another language.
And I'll tell you why.
I have my whole
'Cause
life. I really should.
Every language, okay, in semantics, we talk about abstracting meaning from things. Like, you look at this thing, and you could say it's a glass. You could say it's a glass of water. You could say it's a piece of plastic. Those
True.
are all true, but you only say one of them. Right?
Suppress one. How much is?
So that's why I say words are lies, because you're only picking one aspect of this thing, just one.
Yeah.
Well, every language does that, but they do it differently. So every language sees reality in a slightly different way.
It's like every language communicates the reality in a different way, right? Well. So you think if I learn another language,
It'll give you a different point of view on the world.
On the world. Interesting. Which language should I choose?
Yeah, I don't know. That's your choice.
Espanol,
I wouldn't presume to teach you.
Japanese.
To tell you. I can tell you which ones I found the easiest.
Oh yeah, what are those?
Spanish and French.
Spanish and French, huh?
Are the ones I found the easiest.
I know a French teacher in my school, and my dad speaks a lot of Spanish. So I feel like the best option for me would definitely be Spanish because I could just talk to my dad.
It might also be one of the most useful living in Texas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in Texas speak Spanish.
That's true. I mean, whenever I worked at Olive Garden, my first ever job, I worked at Olive Garden as a busser, and I'd always go into okay, so once I get the dishes, I'd give them to them.
Yeah.
And they'd always have me say vasos, which I think means glass in Spanish.
Yes.
To give them the glasses.
Uh-huh.
So it would
be. You do understand some Spanish.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I know vasos means glass, but that was the extent of it. I just say hola, no hablo español, vasos.
Okay, let me use vasos as an example of what I was talking about. Okay? In Spanish, vaso means a glass, a thing for holding liquids. This would be a vaso.
Yeah.
Even though it's not made out of glass. It's made out of plastic. But in English, glass doesn't just mean this thing. It also means the material glass that you can see through.
Yeah, which is...
So that's a slightly different way of looking at this item in English than in Spanish. And every word in every language is like that. It's slightly different from its a corresponding word in the other language.
I think it'd be fun to learn sign language.
I think so too.
Because different ways to speak, communicate with your mouth is one thing, but communicating with your hands and then having conversations with people that can't even speak would be really interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
So maybe I should
maybe
do that.
you should do that.
Who knows?
But whatever language you learn, you will find it will give you a different perspective on life than English does.
Maybe I should learn Morse code.
Even Morse code is not a language. Morse code is just using different letters.
Okay.
You use sounds instead of letters. But
that's still a cool thing,
It's still English. Or French. You could use Morse code in French or Spanish or whatever.
Interesting.
And just spell them out with the same code.
But yeah, sign language for sure.
But sign language is different. Sign language is actually a language.
I think sign language is like probably the most unique option out of all those. Yeah.
Well, that's could be.
Could be.
I don't know sign language.
Hit the.
I learned the manual alphabet when I was in high school, but that's just the alphabet. So I was just spelling out words.
Wow.
You know, like I could spell out CAROL, Carol. Okay, but it's still Carol. It's not Carola.
Because I feel like if I go out into the world and like there's always people like different. Okay, so if somebody's speaking a different language, I could just pull up my phone and use Google Translate, sure. But like, how would you communicate to somebody using sign language without knowing sign language, really?
You can't any more than you could communicate with somebody in Spanish if you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
it's a language.
I don't know if there's really like a Google Translate for sign language though. You know?
Oh yeah, there are. There is.
Okay. Huh.
It's not as easy to translate, but it is possible to do. I've seen some sites on the internet that do that.
Oh, I bet it would probably just like put the hand symbols. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So, are we done? You seem to be slowing down.
Just about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh man. Do you feel like you get like you stop worrying about life as much once you like became an adult, or like when were you the most stressed out in your life? Yeah, when were you the most stressed out?
I told you about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that's about it.
No, I'll just tell you one more thing about that. Okay, when I was doing that missile stuff in the war. We had an unofficial motto in the air defense artillery, which was, when you push the button to fire, your life expectancy drops to 21 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty stressful.
Like a suicide button.
Pretty stressful. You get this big red plastic button. It's about this big around, right here on your left hand, because your right hand's using the trackball.
Wow.
Yeah. You push that button, you got 21 seconds to live.
Insane. Well, I have an idea.
That's stress, let me tell you.
I have an idea. I should grab my dad's guitar and should play some. Oh.
No. For that, I would need to practice and get my hands relaxed.
Oh, your hand? All right. Well, anyways, thanks for coming on stream.
Hey, love it.
Yeah.
It's been fun. First time I've been interviewed on a podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So much knowledge to take away from this, honestly. I think I'll look back at it and like.
I think you're going to enjoy it. And I think.
Yeah, I think this will make me grow as a person. Yeah, I think I'll be able to grow as a person faster than most because, like, whenever you're my age, you didn't have Papa Don. I mean, you didn't have Papa Don. I don't know. I mean, you had a grandpa, but
whatever.
I got some good knowledge to take out of this. So
good.
Yeah,
that's my hope for you.
Thank y'all for watching. Subscribe. But yeah, it seems like Stream liked it as well. Oh man, W Grandpa, they say. That means like a win.
Oh.
Like great grandpa or like.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, they like you.
I like it. So how many people watched that?
Some different people came in on YouTube.
Yeah, how many different people watched it?
Okay, so 85 different people scrolled past it, but basically we had like a concurrent viewership of like 3 on average. Like our peak was 8 on average on YouTube.
Okay.
And then we had like 5 people on Twitch for a good while. So like I multi-streamed to both. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, my dream is to live off of creating, live off of art. And art,
that would be awesome.
Yeah. Art comes in different forms, right? You got music, you got like film, you got video editing now. I mean, you got just painting, you got Just anything creative. I want to live off of it.
Well, learn some of my guitar stuff
Oh, yeah.
and help me with the website, because I've had as
will.
many as 5,000 people online
Oh yeah.
downloading in a month.
Wow.
In fact, I was averaging before I injured my hand and kind of basically quit doing that. I was averaging about 3,000 people or downloads a month, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe by today's standards, it's not so great, but
Oh, also, I need to show you something. Here's a little surprise for you. Okay, hold on.
okay. Let's see your surprise.
So basically, right, 1 year ago,
Yeah.
1 year ago, I put you in VR.
You what?
I put you in VR. Remember, I made a video out of it.
Yeah.
I put my grandpa in VR,
No.
and
Okay.
it got 8,000 views.
What?
So
Okay. Let me give you some advice.
yeah,
Always, before you put anybody on your
I want to make sure you
blog
knew about
there,
that.
make sure you got permission.
Yeah, 100%. Because that was
And
like whenever I first
advise
started.
you to get written permission. Doesn't have to
100%.
be complicated like a contract or anything.
Or also sue you.
Something.
You gonna sue me, Graham?
because somebody could. I'm
Yeah.
not going to sue you.
Yeah, you're
For
right.
one thing, you don't have enough money to make it worth my while.
That's very
You
true.
don't have the deep pockets. But you get to be Elon Musk. I will come after you. No, not really. But seriously,
Yeah.
somebody else might decide that they don't like
100%.
you,
That's
and they can make life real miserable for you online.
100%. But yeah, that was 1 year ago. So I was like, whenever my channel first started, I wanted to tell you about that.
Yeah, let me, because having been an editor of a magazine, I had to learn all this kind of stuff about
Yeah.
people stealing stuff and so on, and suing each other. And there are people. There's a guy.
Yeah.
He was a college student, and he liked rock music. And so he just collected a bunch of rock music and put it on his own blog for himself and then some of his friends. And he wasn't charging people money for it. He wasn't doing anything like that. He was just made it available for himself and his friends to download. And the record industry heard about it. And one of the record companies went after him legally and got $1 million what do you call it, fine against him.
That is crazy.
Legally in court.
$1 million.
And wait, it gets worse.
Oh.
When you declare bankruptcy, you can get rid of all your debts except court orders. You cannot get rid of court orders in bankruptcy. He is stuck owing $1 million to the court or for this guy, for this company, for the rest of his life.
Dang.
50% of everything he earns
And not even
goes to
everybody
the
lives
court
to make $1 million.
until he's paid $1 million.
That's crazy.
And he was just a 20-year-old kid in college.
Yikes.
And he wasn't even making money off of it.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Wow. But
And he's got to pay somebody $1 million.
that's crazy.
It could be you.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I'm not going to sue you. But
Luckily,
somebody
you're the only
else,
person that I did
somebody
that.
else could do that. So make sure before you put anybody on, because what you're doing counts as publishing legally.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
if you publish somebody else's image or their words, you're liable.
That's true. It's crazy out here.
Legally, you're liable. And it doesn't matter that you're a minor. You're
It's
still
crazy out
liable.
here. Well, actually, I'm 18 now, so.
So
Not even,
Yeah, but even if you were still if 17.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Wait, so like at
but
13?
That's the law.
Let's say a kid's like 13. You think they could get sued $1 million?
Yes, they could.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Now, it's up to a court, and you're probably not going to find a jury that's going to convict a 3-year-old or something.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you're 18, you're an adult.
Yeah.
You could not only be fined, you could be sent to prison.
Yikes.
So
hey, I got your permission for that video.
You do.
Okay.
You have my permission. I'll give it to you in writing if you want.
Okay.
But the fact is,
sounds good.
cover yourself.
Yeah.
In the Army, we had a saying, CYA, cover your ass.
All right.
Okay? Because somebody's going to be shooting at it.
Yeah, 100%. People get greedy. If they
Yes,
can,
they
if they
do.
can take that shot, if they can mess up my
And
life to make their life better.
It isn't even the greedy people.
Yeah, I mean,
because like the
even-
record
yeah.
industry, these record companies, they know this 20-year-old kid doesn't have $1 million. The reason they're doing it is because they have a copyright that they have to defend or they lose it.
Oh wow.
If you have something copyrighted and you don't defend it in court, it becomes public domain and you don't own that copyright anymore. So
the copyright has to.
you have to defend it. And
100%.
they just got a little over enthusiastic about their
Speaking
defense.
of copyright, like I'll have to like make sure certain music isn't in videos all the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Make
it
sure
tells
you
you,
have
yeah.
permission for anything that somebody else creates.
Yeah. But on YouTube, let's say you have like somebody else's soundtrack on there and it's copyrighted, you won't get like sued, but they won't monetize your video.
They can force you, or they won't monetize your video.
Instead, the money goes towards the person from the video. Like So that's how they do it.
Yeah, but that's how YouTube does it.
Yeah, that's how YouTube
now.
does it. Now.
But they could change that with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah, that's true. It's copyright, and it can...
and you don't want to be in the position of not being able to defend yourself.
That's true.
So cover your butt. Okay?
All right.
Cover your ass. Make sure.
That's a good note to leave it on. Honestly, that's true. I do need to be careful out here.
Yes, be careful because, and especially now that you're an adult, you probably
much more responsibility.
You don't realize it, but you have much more responsibilities now than you had a year ago.
Oh yeah,
way more. Like, just for one thing, okay, when you were 17, if you were, let's say you were driving in a car and you got in an accident, somebody stepped out in front of you in the middle of the night. You're driving, it's dark, they're wearing black pants and a black shirt like me, okay, and they step out in front of you and bam, you hit them.
Yikes.
That's homicide, my friend.
Yeah, that'd be terrible to...
It's homicide. You can do 10 years in the big house for that.
I still haven't even drove yet.
It's not a joke. It's not a joke. Your grandma, Barbara, and I taught genealogy to inmates.
What's genealogy?
Family history.
Oh,
okay. You know,
genetics, yeah.
And who your parents and grandparents and everything, who that came from, where you came from. We taught prisoners in the maximum security prison in Utah, which was called the Point of the Mountain.
Maximum security prison. So you have like the worst criminals in the world there?
In the world there, yeah.
And that's in Utah. The worst criminals in the world?
Not in the world, but the worst criminals in Utah. It's a state prison.
Okay.
So it's like the worst criminals in Utah.
Wow.
And we went right down in there and worked with them. Right in the middle of the prison.
Seriously?
Yeah, not in the visiting section. We were down inside the prison. And it was okay. It was wonderful. These guys loved the idea that they could be treated like normal human beings by a man and a woman. They weren't going to do anything to mess that up. Right? But there were guys in there that would screw you over just because they could. They didn't even have to have a reason. It wasn't just because of the money. It wasn't just because they hated you. It's because they are screwed up people. And they see somebody that they can pick on, they do it.
I'm all surprised.
So, you've seen bullies in action.
Yep.
Don't make yourself a victim, man.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Always standing up for myself.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Let's go back over there. It's getting late.
Yep. Well, thank y'all for watching.
Oh
yeah.
Okay.
I left that on. But yeah.
I noticed. But we weren't still on live, were we?
Oh, we're still on live.
We're still live now?
Yeah, I'm about to end it though.